What on God's green earth is happening? Look, I apologise for using God's name in vain, but this is a very strange development indeed. I've just been sent this article on the Daily Mail, excuse me. Exclusive. Conor Benn tests positive for a banned infertility drug ahead of Saturday's fight with Chris Eubank Jr. But both fighters agreed to go ahead with the O2 showdown after taking legal advice. So you can read this for yourself. I'm just going to quickly skim over it. The first few lines and some significant sentences and quotes, I believe. Conor Benn has failed a drugs test, throwing Saturday's blockbuster fight with Chris Eubank Jr. into disarray. Sportsmail can exclusively reveal that the 26-year-old was notified he had returned an adverse finding for the banned substance clomiphene. The substance, which is usually used to treat infertility in women but can increase testosterone in men, is prohibited by the World Anti-Doping Agency. It is understood Benn's test was carried out by VADA, Voluntary Anti-Doping Agency. However, it appears that Benn's situation will not trigger a cancellation of this weekend's blockbuster with Eubank Jr., which falls almost 30 years after the second of two iconic fights between their fathers. Eubank Jr. still wants the bout to go ahead. A statement from promoters Wasserman Boxing and Eddie Hearn's Matchroom in response to Sportsmail's exclusive this morning read, both fighters have taken medical and legal advice, are aware of all the relevant information and wish to proceed with the bout this Saturday. Talks about how much the fight is worth, blah, 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 blah. There's some comments from WBC because they have their clean boxing program supported by VADA. Clomiphene is listed on both WADA and VADA's prohibited list under hormone and metabolic modulators. Wasserman and Matchroom's joint statement today read, we've been made aware that a random anti-doping test for Conor Benn conducted under VADA returned an adverse analytical finding for trace amounts of a fertility drug. The B sample has yet to be tested, meaning no rule violation has been confirmed. Indeed, Mr. Benn has not been charged with any rule violation. He is not suspended and he remains free to fight. Mr. Benn has since passed a doping control test conducted by the UK Anti-Doping Agency, the anti-doping authority to which the BBB of C has delegated its doping control testing for the bout. Mr. Benn has passed all doping control tests conducted by UKAD. Okay, then goes on to talk about how much the fight costs. Quote from Conor Benn from last month, he says, I'm eating a lot, there's plenty of things you can eat. I don't eat a lot of meat, I'm not a massive fan, but I'll have steak on Saturdays. I'm able to eat what I want as long as it is healthy and clean. Okay, and then the rest of it is just talking about, I don't know, some quotes. But look, this is a very strange development. And look, we're not going to know the full picture of it until it's all said and done, happened, been and gone. And we're looking at it in retrospect. And even then, we might not get the full details. But from this article, I think, is it suspicious? I don't think so. And look, that's just my opinion. Based on what is said in this article, which doesn't necessarily mean it's the be all and end all. But, okay, a banned substance in clomiphene. It is strange that this is a drug that is used to treat infertility in women and can also result in increases in testosterone in men. And look, there's not to say that it's necessarily going to be people who are subscribed or watching this video, because we're a fraternity, I think, of people who are connected to reality. But there is a large movement, especially in sport, certain progressive types who like to say that testosterone has no effect on sports performance. And that is a lie. Testosterone, and therefore substances that enhance your testosterone, will in some way, shape or form enhance your performance. That is just the nature of hormones. It's the nature of the human organism. But these people, they have certain agendas, which I'm not going to talk about, and they like to undermine the effect that testosterone can have, especially in men and the performance of men. So testosterone, yes, it is something that needs to be regulated in terms of what you're using to increase it. But that aside, you know, it's talking about trace amounts. So the The adverse finding in the sample was trace amounts of clomiphene. What is, and I'm asking the question, I don't know. What is the likelihood that this compound, clomiphene, is in various food items, be them meat products or non-meat products? What is the likelihood of that? I don't know. If you have any idea, if you've done any research, please enlighten me, because that can happen. You know, you are what you eat. And so if you've had especially meat products which tend to be treated with some kind of hormone, or it's likely, sometimes it happens, your body is obviously ingesting that. It's absorbing the nutrients and constituents of what you've eaten, and that can come up when you give a urine sample or any kind of hair sample, something like that, some kind of biological sample. It can have these trace elements of whatever in them. So it's not completely beyond the realms of possibility that this is an accident. But I'm just asking the question, this clomiphene compound, is it commonly found in food items? And at the end of the day, regardless of whether it is or isn't, you have to imagine that someone like Conor Benn, who is becoming a more of a high profile fighter, he can't afford to cut corners and take risks. And a lot of fighters, they understand this, so they are meticulous in understanding and getting an insight into what are they eating in the lead up to a fight, and where is that food coming from, who is preparing that food. And they'll employ nutritionists and people, food suppliers, so they don't have to deal with any ambiguity. They know what they're eating, and they know that there's no chance my food is going to be spiked, my food is going to make me come up on a drugs test. So is this just short-sighted? Is it a mistake by Conor Benn? Is it just bad luck, plain old misfortune? Or is there something suspicious going on here? Now, I'm not going to make a judgment because I don't know the details, and you have to be careful with what you accuse people of. But I'm willing to see this out. It is strange, but Conor Benn is supposedly, he's had an adverse finding, but the rest of his tests, the rest of his samples seem to be okay. I think the B sample is yet to be tested, and I imagine that will be the deciding factor. If it comes back positive, will this fight be off? There have always been whispers of this fight being off, or potentially being scrapped at the 11th hour because of Eubank Jr.'s weight. I never saw that as being realistic, just because I think that Ben wants to get stuck in. I think he wants this fight, even though many people see it as a bit of a whitewashing almost, or a potential whitewashing. I think that Eubank Jr. is going to come in overweight, just to go off on a tangent, but I think he's going to pay the fines. And even if he comes in way heavier, I don't think Conor Benn and his team are going to pull out. I think more so Conor Benn, I think he's going to call the shots and he's going to decide to stay in this fight. But this could potentially jeopardize it, because he's already failed this first test with trace elements. What happens if the other test comes up hot and that's only got trace elements? Is the fight still off? Does it really matter? Does it come down to what the fighters want, or can the governing bodies overrule it? I don't know. I'm just asking these questions. But this is a very strange development 3 days out from the fight. But that's it for now. Have a read of this article if you want. Try to get as good an idea as you can. What do you make of this, though? Do you think it's short-sightedness? Do you think it's misfortune and bad luck? Or do you think there's something shady going on? Leave it down below and I'll get back to you. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.